Now, we are, of course, into June. Today is the 6th day of June, the 6th day of the 6th month. Depending on how you count it, it is officially winter and all that that implies. And, hey, I know there's a song which says it's the most wonderful time of the year, but is it? Honestly? Is winter the most wonderful time of the year? I mean, we don't even have Christmas in winter in the Southern Hemisphere. It can be a bit of a downer, but, to put it in perspective, joining us on the program now from weatherwatch.co.nz, Philip Duncan. Philip, kia ora, happy winter to you, sir.
Kia ora, hello, thank you very much. Winter, great time of year.
Well, it is. I quite like it. I mean, autumn's my favourite season, but I'm processing the grief of that. Heading into winter, and you and I talked about this last week, that it depends on how you slice it as to whether or not it's winter now or equinox or in a few weeks from now. But and we don't have like a groundhog to let us know how long the winter's going to be. But I'm a simple guy. Let's stick to the months. It's June, it's winter, it'll be spring by September. Does that make sense to you?
Pretty much. In fact, I often say that, New Zealand, we're a little bit shortchanged with winter and we're a little bit shortchanged with summer. We end up with sort of a 2-month summer. 2 months of it are usually pretty good, or 6 to 8 weeks. And in winter, it's about the same. We have about 2 months that are wintry and everyone complains about how cold it is. Then the rest of the time, where it's autumn and spring. And I think just think of our location on the planet. We are halfway between Antarctica and the equator,
Yep.
out at sea all on our own. We're not, having these perfect seasons like we grew up watching the Peanuts cartoons where they have, winter is snow and summer is hot.
Yeah.
That's not us in New Zealand. We can be spring or autumn at the warmest time of the year or the coldest time of the year.
I mean, it is perhaps a good thing that we're in this sort of mild area, but it surprises me, and I noticed this the other day, just how quickly we get used to things. The problem is it's been a long time since it's been this cold, and I've got used to it not being quite as cold as it has been in the last few days. My memory's not as good as it used to be, perhaps, but you think, oh gosh, isn't it so cold and terrible? Well, possibly not as cold as it was this time last year. We've just been spoilt with a mild autumn, perhaps.
That's right. It's quite funny that we get a lot of complaints, obviously, about temperatures and,
Yeah.
and people complaining about it's not, it's where's the heat, where's the cold, all that sort of stuff. The biggest complaint we've had this year has been from people saying so much for climate change. But the fun thing about that argument, and the reason why it's
Oh,
flawed, is because while they're saying that, I'm saying to people, we've reset back to normal. That's actually still alarming. That means that the cold changes you're getting are normal.
yeah.
They're not even below normal. We've had a couple of days below average in New Zealand over the last few weeks. For the most part, most places have still been warmer than average. And this week, some places are 8, 9 degrees above normal.
Yep.
So, I mean, we are exceptionally warm. And that's not just climate change. It's, in fact, most of our temperature changes are due to the fact that we're a small nation and a big high pressure zone. If it's parked over Tasmania, chances are we've got a cold southerly. And if it's northeast of New Zealand, chances are we've got Fijian tropical air, which we might be getting here on Sunday. So it just depends.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of cold air on the way, and winter is coming by the looks of the map behind you. Is that likely to stick around? It's going to be a colder weekend, perhaps, but is that pushing into next week as well, Phil?
Actually, I think the weekend will be warmer because
Okay.
ahead of the cold front on that map behind me here, basically the cold front's out in the Tasman Sea. And before it can arrive, the high pressure zone that's over us at the moment, keeping most places dry, needs to move away.
Hmm.
And as it does that, as it moves away on Saturday and Sunday, it drives in this warm nor'wester coming from near Fiji in some places. So Sunday's warm, but it is called a cold front for a reason.
Yeah.
It's colder air behind it. And as we go through Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, certainly gets a lot colder. We'll be seeing -3s and -4s around the lower South Island, which, by the way, is normal, but it's overdue. They haven't been having them. And the biggest complaint I get from Southlanders at the moment is, where is winter? They've had a lot of rain. They're sick of the rain, but they want the colder air to come in.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the other end of the South Island, they want the rain to come in Tasman and Nelson, which is why hopefully the setup on Sunday does drive in some rain for them.
Yeah, well, hey, be careful what you pray for in that regard, although it does sound quite nice. A little bit of Fijian air coming our way over the weekend. I mean, instead of having to go to Fiji, Fiji comes to us, as long as it's not a cyclone.
Thousands of dollars to go there, and now you can just stay at home and get
Yeah,
it for free.
exactly. As long as it's not a cyclone. Well, I'm totally happy with that. I mean, there is something about winter, though, for a lot of people. There's a psychological response to it. We perhaps spend less time outside, less time in actual daylight. I don't know if it's a vitamin D thing, but seasonal affective disorder. I mean, it's a great acronym, but it's also a reality.
Oh, very much is. And, when I first started WeatherWatch back in 2008 or 9, we wrote a story about SAD and how it affects people. And we got complaint from someone saying, oh, that's only a thing that happens in Sweden and Norway, where they don't get sunlight at all. But it's not, because many people, I've lived in Auckland a long time now. When I used to commute, I don't commute now, thankfully, but when I used to, I used to get up and it was pitch black when I left home.
Yep.
The sun was rising as I got to work, and then I went straight into an office. And then when I left work at 5 p.m., the sun was gone again. And I
Yep.
never saw the sun, only briefly. If it was raining at lunchtime, definitely didn't see it. And if you live in the lower part of the country, even if you are outdoors, you still may not see it.
Yep.
The easiest way to fix that depression you get when the days become gloomy is turn the lights on. It is the cheapest way to stay healthier and happier. On your power bill, the lights don't take up as much as your heaters do, or the dryer, or the hot water cylinder. So flick the lights on. The new LED light bulbs are really cheap to run.
Yep.
And so get lights on. The more lights you have, the happier you'll feel. That's just one thing. And you can Google that information. The Ministry of Health has information for people who are suffering from depression and the things you can do from it. I'm one of those people. I get depressed quite easily in the darker months, and I find watching some comedies on TV
Yep.
and turning the lights on makes me happier.
No, I think it's a fantastic idea. Just flick on the light. I would also add to that vested interest, of course, turn on the radio. That'll cheer you up, depending on the station, a bit of company, and if it is freezing cold, put a jersey on, you wuss. Or no, I mean, we can always raise the temperature in our houses, and be grateful for it in that regard. And I suppose, positive things on the horizon. The ski season gets underway next week, doesn't it?
That's right, I think so. And they've got snow on the way, natural snow on the way.
Wow.
Even Mount Ruapehu has had natural snow. They had snow falling in Happy Valley the other day, which has been a long, long time. When I was a kid, that was normal.
Yeah.
These days, it's a rarity. If you want to measure climate change, measure how much snow the Whakapapa ski field gets and how often Auckland gets a frost.
Yeah.
Those are really good on the fringe ways of measuring climate change.
Certainly, and hey, for people that love the ski season, hopefully some good things to celebrate over winter as well. Would recommend people check out the details of what is coming up in the weather at weatherwatch.co.nz. But Philip, appreciate what you do. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure, sir. See you next week.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.